big news. A guy who a lot of us listened to back in the day, raunchy dude, horrible dude, did cross the line a lot, but it was always in the guise of humor, and was kind of like basically the soundtrack for the working man, the delivery driver. That's why I was listening to him. He was the voice of the people. Howard Stern even ran for governor, I believe, as a Republican for New York back in the day. And then turned out to be the biggest disappointment sellout in the history of media. So the king of all media turned into the king of all sellouts. And he's been a shadow of his former self since he left terrestrial radio, when he was always under the gun of the FCC, Chris, and complaining about that. But once he went over to Sirius, it got boring as fuck, to be honest with you.
I agree on a lot of things here, but maybe you're the same fan. I read both his books. Yep. I saw his movie.
Yep.
Loved his movie.
Yep.
We did a cover story on Film Thread about the greatest movies never made, and we talked about Fart Man. We got the script. It would have been a great raunchy comedy. Howard Stern stood up for working people. He connected with his audience, and then he became part of the system. And the current day Howard Stern would hate his old self. He did blackface jokes on his old local show in New York. He did every raunchy that he made fun of gay and transgender people. And current day him is the complete opposite. He sold out to the mainstream. But COVID changed him. He was little by little changing because he got more fame, got bigger guest bookings, whatever he was changing. But after COVID, I couldn't listen. He fundamentally changed as a person. I don't know anyone who listens to him anymore. And everyone I knew was like, yeah, did you hear that Stern interview? You know, his rep was, I'm great at interviews. And he would get great interviews. Celebrities would open up to him, but he also threw baloney at girls' butts. I remember paying for his pay-per-view thing, the New Year's Rotten Eve.
Yeah.
I paid for that. Look, I got his Butt Bongo Fiesta. Look at all the things Stern did before. He's got this whole thing, and somehow he's I'm woke. I heard that whole rant he did about being woke. He doesn't understand. He really betrayed his audience. And I give people a lot of chances. I hold out. I'm like, okay, he might be. But after COVID, after 2019, he was 2020. You could not listen to him.
No.
And I think that broke him. And he was already going that way of like a sellout. He became the thing that he criticized the most.
Yeah, it goes back about a little over a decade, when the video got out of him kind of doing that staff meeting, and we learned later on that they were focusing more on, they didn't want to do comedy skits anymore. They wanted to get more big guests, and also creating fake Twitter accounts. He got busted doing that too. And it's pretty much everybody lays it on his second wife, Beth Orski. She kind of started running the show and wanted to make it mainstream and cucked him. The shit we do now, he was calling out celebrities for people who never listened to him. He was talking shit and calling out celebrities. I'll never forget when it was Empire came out, Empire Strikes Back on the re-release, and it stomped Private Parts in the theater, and he went off on fucking George Lucas and Star Wars nerds. That's the first time I actually got mad at him. I'm like, fuck you, dude. But he did. He went off. I think he just wanted to be part of the club. I don't know how you turn a leaf that quick from what he did. He also got paid. He's got enough money. He can retire tomorrow. He doesn't need any money. He's got a giant house. He's part of the club, but he wanted to be accepted by celebrities. So all those working people he supposedly had the back of didn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
Never did. I'll preface this by saying it isn't official yet. His contract runs out in October. It's $100 million. SiriusXM is not doing as well as it used to. The deal is, I'm not sure if they're going to get re-upped. Does he need to get re-upped? Is he going to go start a podcast? Is this negotiation? We don't know yet. The only thing we need to consider is, whatever happens, is the first time Howard Stern, who used to make news regularly, folks, like regularly. It's been over a decade, but he used to be in the news regularly. First time he's made news, serious news, since bitching at COVID was his show being canceled. And I love that they put a picture, and they did this on purpose, of him with Stephen Colbert.
Oh, right. Draw the connection. Draw the connections.
Is the cultural shift is happening. SiriusXM has canceled the Howard Stern show. I think that's a little premature, but of all the photos I could have selected to start a post about Howard Stern, this one seems to be the most appropriate, given the most media giants pictured here are both about to be out of a job. Well played. Now, both Stephen Colbert and Stern will be allowed to serve out the remainder of their contracts, but they won't be renewed. Two of the highest paid performers in two of the highest profile positions in media, Colbert, with an annual budget of $100 million to sit on your fucking ass and kiss celebrity ass. And Stern is rumored to have made $120 million since 2020 and as much as $2.1 billion since his first switch to satellite radio with groundbreaking deal in 2004. And now both have been unceremoniously fired, like Chevy Chase in 1993. That was a bad show.
He was terrible. It was bad. It was bad.
This news coming so soon after Colbert's announcement makes it virtually impossible to conclude anything other than this was done for the same reason, because both spent the better part of the last 10 years or so, almost from the minute Donald Trump came down the golden escalator, alienating half the country. That's certainly the conclusion the center right have reached. Well, you can apply this to everything. Why is Fantastic Four not doing well at the box office? Hollywood alienated half the country. Why is the Hollywood box office not performing well? Hollywood alienated half the country. Why are so many things failing right now? Because the entertainment industry alienated half the country. The legacy media alienated half the country. And he certainly didn't do himself any favors by demonizing the majority of the country who developed legitimate concerns about the efficiency, the risks, and the need for COVID vaccines, which never existed because they weren't vaccines. That was a fairy tale. And they have a point. When your bosses are investing hundreds of millions annually into your show, they're not doing so hoping you'll pander to one particular end of the political spectrum. They're trying to sell ads to the broadest possible audience, not fund your vanity project or watch you do tons of heavy lifting trying to drag a clearly diminished president across the re-election finish line. Throughout the years, how Joe met Jill, Biden's civil rights activism, which Biden has previously admitted never happened, Amtrak Joe, Stern went through his notes and hit all of the fiction. Stern reserved 10 minutes at the end reciting all these hoaxes about Trump. Fine people hoax, suckers and losers. He hit all of them. It was one of the most pathetic interviews in history, and that's the interview with Joe Biden we're talking about here, followed closely by his interview with Kamala a couple of months later. Look, getting an interview with the sitting president is a legitimate use of your airways. He'd be crazy not to take the opportunity, but there are plenty of outlets for that kind of content without having to pay for SiriusXM subscription. And fawning interviews with politicians was never what Stern listeners listened to him for, which is true. To me, the real reason Stern is out of a job after decades of getting fined by the FCC, protested against, threatened with boycotts, ripped to shreds from truly outrageous moments, for instance, and then we can show the picture with George Jefferson. Holy shit. And talking about how good-looking high school girls were fleeing Columbine shooting. Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. He finally committed the one unpardonable sin in broadcasting. Howard Stern became boring. And more importantly, he betrayed his audience. There's one thing to become boring, but there's one thing to just go out there and outright betray your audience. Tediously, ponderously, mind-numbingly boring, flipping from his current shows on Howard 100 to his vintage material on Howard 101 is jarring. You go from him kissing up to D-list musicians about his craft and his process to the Whack Pack circa 1999 and is just surfacing too fast while scuba diving. You could get physically injured from the sudden change in pressure. I'll never forget being at my old dead-end day job listening to her Stern guest who could queef on command. I remember those days, Chris. He had her with a microphone in her crotch, queefing along with Flight of the Bumblebee.
What is happening?
That was it. Co-workers
baloney at people, girls' butts, and just like there were all crude things he could get.
Horribly crude things. Co-workers in the next room had to come in and do a well-being check because I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. Dude, I was too. Like it made your workday better. But in less than 30 years, he went from that insane, outrageous genius comedy to demanding people get a COVID shots because he's scared of the virus and doing PR work for celebrities like he's a host of Access Hollywood. Nobody summed up Stern's demise better than Artie Lang. How he became the very thing he made a career out of, burning to the ground. And this is a quote. I think sometimes I stabbed myself and died and woke up in a world where Howard Stern likes Ellen DeGeneres dancing. He has her on the show and kisses her ass and tells her he looks forward to her dancing. Nobody changes like that. It would be like Hitler running a temple. Fucking Artie.
Did you see his interview with Kamala? I only saw clips. What an ass kissing. It was the worst. I mean, all of her interviews were bad. He was doing most of the talking and kissing her ass. It's god awful.
Well, I mean, again, he doesn't need to be doing any of this. He's a billionaire now.
Yeah.
Like he cashed in, sold out. Don't even know why he does it anymore. And yet Stern did it. The ultimate career 180 turn from putting porn stars on a Sibian to being a sycophant. From being the voice and ears of every New York long-haul trucker and Manhattan cabbie to becoming Howie Hamptons and wanting to be accepted by the beautiful people he used to hilariously nuke from orbit to the delight of the massive audience. I listened to Stern a couple of years ago on Conan O'Brien's podcast, and he explained his conversion from comedian to celebrity sycophant in detail, how he just hated who he was, how he felt like his comedy was hurting people, and he didn't want to do that anymore. So he reached out to people like Rosie O'Donnell in particular and apologized to her for all the jokes at her expense. It all sounded like a secular sort of religious conversion, which Artie and virtually everyone else in Howard's orbit will blame on his second wife, Beth Ostrowski. Sorry, I said Orsky, but it's Ostrowski. Stern, who he put in charge of his show almost as soon as they got married. She took over, got a big office that producer Gary Delabonte had always been denied, and they were all told to answer to her, with the result of being a pedestrian, monotonous radio it is today. The prime example of that shift was the leaked video of the staff meeting he held in 2013, berating his employees and demanding less in terms of funny radio and more in terms of booking guests with books, movies, and albums to promote. He also got caught faking Twitter accounts to get guests and to kind of pump up, like,
you're right.
Because the show gets no interaction on social media at all. The Stern in front of that PowerPoint presentation was unrecognizable to anyone who remembered his Channel 9 show where he dangled hot dogs from fishing rods for bikini models to eat. Or the time he paid fathers to take their adult daughters' clothes. Oh, God, in studio, terrible. Which is well and good for Howard Stern, just not for the millions of people who got bored years ago and dipped out of his forgettable show because they have thousands of other options. So while SiriusXM might be sucking up to Trump the way CBS is being accused of for firing Colbert, both cases are much more just good business decisions. That's all they are. It's not sucking up to Trump. These things they're losing the money. Like SiriusXM is not making any money off of Howard Stern anymore. He helped put him on the map, and the reason he's a billionaire is he gets a piece of whatever that buyout was because he owned part of it or whatever. SiriusXM, I don't really remember or care. The king of all media is dead. I won't say long live the king. There ain't no king.
Yeah, well, no king. On Letterboxd, just maybe in a positive news, a review of Butt Bongo Fiesta from 1992, a VHS tape that I would watch with friends. We'd sit there and watch the VHS.
Oh, shit.
And
did Is
That
this
was
the
great.
baloney thing?
Released in
some of it.
1992, but Bongo Fiesta came on the heels of the ending of the WWOR television show. I remember the Howard Stern show. I have all the VH tapes of that I bought bootleg at Comic-Con. Yeah. Howard was doing all kinds of butt bonging at the time, and the title skit on the video is a send-up of Hispanic dance shows with your host, Howard Eastern. The video also features Jessica Hahn in the 3D skit Jungle Man, Guess Who's the Jew, with Kurt Waldheim Jr., the KKK guy, Daniel Carver.
Then you remember Daniel Carver, the KKK guy? That was the best. It was so extreme. Like, it was fun. Beetlejuice, he was a character.
Beetlejuice.
Hank the Angry Dwarf. There were so many, like, in honor of this happening.
Dude, Fred was so good with the sound effects and so quick with the sound effects. He was a genius.
And he would make fun of, I think, that transgender woman who would come on.
Yeah.
And he would do, remember?
He go,
that deep voice, like, it was made to be offensive and push buttons.
It was all fake.
And it was great.
It was all fucking fake.
Oh, man.
That sucks. Again, you know, some people are going to look at it now and just go, oh, my stars and garters. That was terrible. And it was. He did some horrific shit. But back in the 90s, back in the 90s, man, everybody was listening to Stern. Like every working person, 1 out of 3 were listening to Stern. They were. And he spawned the shock jock radio era. Every hometown had their Howard Stern version with a couple of guys and a girl, you know, and doing their, you know, wacky morning DJ stuff. But I mean, Stern was the king.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.